Hey guys, Art from Madness here. Again, I'm happy to be coming to you live from Signal Hill, California, inside of our shop. Behind me you can see Project 124. We've already done a couple of videos, more videos that we're going to be pushing out as well, so stay tuned for those. But today what we're going to be doing is adding a little bit of horsepower, a little bit of torque with our MAXPower ECM. And when I say a little bit, we're gonna make this thing perform really, really well. We're gonna get it on the dyno. You saw, and I hope you've seen before, the videos where we put it on the dyno. I'm sure we'll link those below or to the side somewhere, where we did our baseline. And now that we have all that information, we've done a bunch of fabrication from a full exhaust to intake systems, fit different parts, spring, suspension, and even the little accessories. So if you've been browsing the site, you're seeing more and more items for the 124. But today we're gonna go ahead and we are going to add MAXPower. Let's see, that way, MAXPower. A simple two harness plug and play installation. We're gonna go up under the hood. We're gonna show you how to mount it, where to put it, what it does, and we're gonna get started. So if you follow me, we'll get started under the hood, and we'll be ready to get the car back on the road. All right, so we're gonna start by disconnecting our negative battery cable so that we kill power to the rest of the engine. It's just a standard precaution when we're doing anything electrical. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is you need the engine to be very, 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 very cool. Preferably it's been sitting overnight or for a long enough period of time where it's not going to be hot. So there's a couple of tight spaces you need to get into. We don't want to get burned. I'm talking from experience. So we want to make sure as cool as the engine can be. If not, it's at your own risk. So we're going to start by disconnecting the negative side of the battery cable, 10mm, and then please make sure the engine's nice and cool. So I've already loosened the negative terminal here. You can see that the connection is loose, and all you have to do is just wiggle the connection and it'll come off. We'll just tuck this out of the way for right now, and our electrical system's been disengaged. We can start working. So now that we got that done, we'll proceed on to the rest of the engine bay. Okay, so the basis of the installation of the MAXPower ECM, it comes in two components. It's three really, but two that play the main role. It's going to be our harness and the actual ECM, the module itself. You also get a bypass plug, which is used to plug into the harness once it's been installed, and that effectively changes the car back to the stock configuration. So if you ever, for whatever reason, need to or want to put the car back to stock, and you do not want to have the ECM installed in the vehicle, you can just put that bypass plug in. More on that later. But now that we're under the hood, you can kind of get an idea of the 124's layout. Now, because this is rear-wheel drive, a lot of you that are coming from the same motor in the Fiat 500 Abarth with this front-wheel drive setup are going to notice that the motor's in a different configuration now that we have the motor so that it can direct the transmission and run it back to the back wheels where you have your differential. So everything that we're going to be doing is going to be concentrated on the passenger side of the vehicle. Those are where our sensors are located that we're going to have to plug into for the MAXPower. And the first couple of steps are going to be removal of the wheel and removal of the fender liner, because that's going to give us some access that we need. Then we're going to go ahead and route our harness. We're going to make our first connection, and then we're going to come up back into the engine bay just on the passenger side here on the fender well. We're going to make our secondary connection. Then we get to route our harness nice and neatly. We get to zip tie it up. We get to clean all that up. Then we get to fix mount the ECM, and that's pretty much it. So it really is that simple. Let's go ahead and get started. Everybody knows how to take off a wheel. I'm not going to show you that, but what I will show you is once we have the wheel off and the fender liner removed, we'll show you a couple of clips on how that's done, and as far as the clips to hold the fender liner in, and then we'll be ready to start. So give me 1 sec and we'll get started. All right, so what we're gonna try and remove is this actual piece of plastic here. It's separate from the fender liner. The fender liner does have two halves. It has this back half and a front half that you can't see in the shot. But the reason why we're gonna remove this little plastic piece is because it's gonna allow us to get our hand back in this area, as the boost pressure sensor is up and behind, bolted to the engine. So the only way to get my hand back there is to remove this plastic piece. If your hands are small enough to reach back there, then you might not have to do this at all. But in order to release the locking pin here, you will see a little depression where you can slide a flat blade screwdriver behind. And when you get it behind there, all you have to do is twist the screwdriver. It'll pop the pin loose like that one just did. Then you can pull the pin and the surrounding clip out. We'll do the same thing for this, this pin here. And then we'll be able to remove this smaller piece of plastic out of our way to gain access behind. And an angle. There you go. And now that we have that out of the way, we can easily get our hand up and back there to get the boost pressure sensor connection. Okay, so now we have a nice shot. You can see we have the back side of our alternator right here. You can see this nice thicker gauge piece of sleeving for the electrical, one of the main electrical harnesses in the car, and that's actually going to be our land marker, because we're going to be doing this mostly by feel. We have the car up on a lift right now, but we realize most people are going to be doing it in their driveway. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to reach, and when you fill this this conduit here, you're going to know that the boost pressure sensor is sitting right behind it. So if you see where I'm pointing with the screwdriver, that's our boost pressure sensor, and that's what we're going to have to disconnect in order to make our first harness connection on the MAXPower ECM. So we've already run the harness down from above in the engine compartment, and now what I'm going to do is release the locking pin and disconnect the electrical connector, the factory electrical connector for the boost pressure sensor. So I'm going to reach here. It's going to cover it up. It's probably going to get a little dark, but you should hear, and then when I move my hand away, you'll see that it's been disconnected. So I'm just going to reach up in, and it has a little locking connector that you have to slide out so that you can depress the tab. And then you hear that, that means our connector has been released. Pull my hand out carefully. You're going to see that now we have the connection loose from the actual sensor, and you might be able to see the connection that we've exposed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab our harness that we have hanging down, and we're going to make our first connection. We're going to connect to the sensor, make sure we lock the tab, and then we're going to connect to the actual harness side, lock the tab, and then we're going to go back up into the engine bay. Alright, so now that we have the MAXPower ECM male connector plugged into the boost pressure sensor here, what we're going to have to do is we're going to connect the female MAXPower ECM boost pressure sensor here to the factory side of the harness, the part that we unplugged from the sensor originally, which I have tucked up in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull that out so you can see it, and then I'll point out what we're going to be doing. So let me get my hand up in there, and you'll be able to see. So now you can see the factory harness side, which is right here, that we're going to connect to the female side of the MAXPower ECM. That's going to complete the circuit for us so that the factory harness is still connected to the sensor and the MAXPower is now connected to the sensor. The same rules apply, that we're going to make sure that we orient the locking tab on the factory harness side with the locking tab on the MAXPower ECM so that everything is in the correct orientation. Remember, you do have little locking tabs, so that you want to make sure that they are fully released when you go to plug them in and fully depressed when you have made your connection. So let me do that now. It's a little tight, so bear with me. There we go. You hear it click. Now if you look at it, you can see that it's fully connected, and you heard it click, so you know it's installed. What we first have to do is slide this locking connector in to lock the lock. There it is. So now it's in fully locked position, and we have our connections done on the boost pressure sensor. Now we're going to go back up into the upper engine bay on the passenger side. We're going to connect the manifold pressure sensor. We're going to zip tie our harness, and we're going to complete the install and mount the unit. Okay, so the next connection, we saved the easiest for last, which is good, is going to be our manifold pressure sensor, which we have right here. So we'll get a nice wide shot to show you exactly where it's located, but essentially this is just above the area that we were working on the fender well. So if you come up and you go into the engine bay, you will see that you have a nice manifold pressure sensor here that it's in plain view. So if you need to see, again, we'll link to that in another photo. But also directly below that, for some people that have been asking, is the throttle body, which is right here. And you have a nice little layout of where we're working. So what we're going to do is the exact same thing. We're going to disconnect the factory sensor, then we're going to route our harness for the MAXPower. It's here. I just flipped it up out of the way so that you can have a little bit clearer view of the sensor itself. And then we're going to make our two connections. So I'm just going to go in, going to release the lock with the screwdriver, just like that. Then I'll go ahead and I'm going to block you. I'm going to depress the sensor and pull. There you go. Now we have our sensor disconnected. Then what I'm going to do is bring the harness in, which we have right here off to the side. We have our two connections here that you can see. We're going to do the exact same thing we did last time, which is start with the male connection at the sensor, make sure everything snaps into place nicely. Then we're going to connect the female, and then we're going to start routing our harness, and we're pretty much home free. So I'm going to get the male connection. Remember to line up the locking tab. We'll hear that click right there. We have that seated. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the same thing. Now the one thing to note, and I hope you can see it, let me move this out of the way. On this particular sensor, you do have what looks to be a locking tab on each side, as you can see here. So there's a locking tab that looks like it's there. If I flip it over on the other side, it looks like another locking tab. Now, if you look closely at these, you're going to see one of them is triangular in shape. It has like a little ramp where the lock is supposed to seat, while the other one is the same height on all four sides. That is the bottom of the connector, which in this case is this portion here. If you look on the other side, you can see that it looks triangular in shape from the side. That's going to be the part that goes that matches up with our locking connector. This is the top side. So what I'm going to do is make sure that I line that up with the locking connector on the factory side of the harness. We're going to push it into place and then lock the tab. So there's not a lot of slack on the factory side harness. So I'm going to get that. I'm going to listen for the click. There it is. Going to lock our connection. And we have finished our connections on the manifold pressure sensor. Alright, so now that we have the harness in, for the most part all our sensor connections are made. What we're going to do now is we're going to tuck the harness nicely and route it. I'm going to show you where we decide to install the MAXPower ECM. It's a nice location, it gets good airflow, and it's kind of up and out of the way, and it still looks nice where you mount it. So that's what we've chosen. You can use double-sided tape or Velcro to mount it. We have used Velcro in this installation, but we use double-sided tape all the time as well. It's really your preference. You can even zip tie it. It does have portions where there's little reliefs in the edge of the ECM where you can just run a zip tie through and you can just fix it up out of the way. There's really not a whole lot to see. I left long zip ties so that you can get an idea of where we zip tied the harness in a couple of spots. You really only need two. We're going to mount the MAXPower right here. It's a nice, safe place. You can get to it easy for access, and you can remove it very simply if you need to. The nice thing is that if you're looking, you probably can't see the harness because it carries the same factory loom that the regular 124 harness uses. So essentially what we did was we zip tied to a main portion of the harness here that connects to the strut tower brace, and then we zip tied the main plug on the harness to another main portion of the engine harness that runs up and under the engine cover, just so that it's out of the way. I made sure to leave this one a little bit loose, so if you need to slide the harness in and out, you still can. We're going to flush cut these zip ties, of course, and I did use overly long zip ties because I wanted it to be able to read on camera. We use smaller length zip ties. It doesn't matter. I thought most people might say, hey, why do they use such a long zip tie for a shorter connection? But essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to connect the ECM just like this. Oh, it goes like this. Slide it to lock. And then we're going to fix mount it here with some Velcro. So it'll just sit like that. If you ever need to get to it, it's really simple. The one thing, you do need to zip tie the main connection because the pulleys for the various belt assemblies are right below. So if you don't zip tie this and it falls down, it has no protection against the belt and it can get chewed up. So make sure that you zip tie the harness nicely so that there's no excess, so you don't have any of those problems. But essentially, now that we have that, we have our connections. We're going to flush cut these, then we'll jump to the battery. We'll make our positive and negative connections, and the installation is done. So I'll come back, we'll have these cut, and we'll be at the battery. Okay, so last is our battery connections. We have our 12 volt to our positive side, and then we have a ground that we just have to ground to the body somewhere. I like to put the ground somewhere that's kind of out of the way, that you can't really see it, just because it makes for a cleaner install. And for the positive, we're going to do a direct battery connection because that's going to give us the most stable voltage for our Bluetooth module and our MAXPower ECM. So our ECM we offer it in two flavors. We offer it in the vanilla, going to give you all the horsepower and the torque that you could want. And everybody that's been ordered that has been very, very happy with it. But now we also offer it with a little bit ultimate, a little twist. We offer it with the availability of a Bluetooth app that you can get in the Android or iOS store. And we also have dedicated videos to how to use it, what it looks like in the interface. So be sure to check those out as well. That allows you to control the module and the MAXPower ECM from your phone. What that basically means is it allows you to, when you press a button, to see real-time RPM, to change between Eco, Sport, and Sport Plus mode on the fly. It's a great feature, and all the people that have got it love it just because it gives you the adjustability that most people want, and the people that say they never use it don't know that they want it until they have it. So it's just a nice little upgrade. So if you get the Bluetooth module, you need to make these connections just to give that the module itself more stability in transmitting the data from your phone to the ECM. So if you come down with me to the battery, I've already made the connections for the 12 volt, and you'll see there's a little cover that's kind of right here. I'll kind of zoom in on it. It goes over the positive terminal. So we remove that, and it gives us a nice spot to install our positive wire here. Now, one thing to note, it's fused, so it's safe for the ECM, and it's secure. So that's one thing to always keep in mind, that you have something fused that's feeding power to anything electronic. And now that we have that, what we're going to do is I'm going to find a nice spot in here to connect the ground. Now, it really depends. It just has to be a good body or engine ground, and I want it so that it's not, so I don't see it, because the less I see, the cleaner the install. So if you pan over to the engine bay and you look, our install is very, very clean. You obviously notice the MAXPower, it stands out, it's meant to. But if you were to look over everything else, most people that open the hood, they're never going to know that anything's been installed. And that's the way that we like it. We want you to be able to open up your hood and have a nice, clean, functional install. It's just going to work. It's intuitive. And that's what you get with all of these ECM combinations that we offer. Also remember too, we offer for more than just the 124. Now we're doing this video to show you specifically how to install it on this model, but we do have it for a wide range of vehicles. If we don't have it listed, please feel free to reach out to us. If you have any questions, the same thing. We have all of our support and customer service representatives here. You can send an email. It doesn't matter whether you're overseas. We deal with it all the time. If we don't know the answer, we'll find it. So in the end, we did a nice clean install. Probably take you all of 45 minutes with a couple of breaks in the middle to get a nice cold drink. If you have any questions, please always remember to reach out, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Now I'm going to go ahead and button this up. Then we're going to go for a test drive. We're going to give you some of that footage too. Then we're going to go get it back on the dyno. We're going to see what kind of performance gains we got, because that's what everybody wants to see, and that's what we're going to give you. So, art for madness, and I'll see you in the streets.